Okay, everybody, I'm here with Travis Terrebone with Gengatorz Power Systems. Now, you're in Louisiana. I imagine there's a lot of reasons for portable and not so portable generators in that region. Unfortunately, I had more than your fair share of hurricanes and traumatic weather. Tell me, Travis, how did you get into this business?
So I've been, mechanically inclined, I guess you could say, my whole life. And essentially owned and operated a diesel mechanic shop for about 17 years. And as an entrepreneur, quite honestly, I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. And so I had to learn the hard way. And COVID and Hurricane Ida in 20 and 21, we just were not able to survive it. And so I started personally just answering phone calls after Hurricane Ida to pick up generator, whatever work I could, and realized that I couldn't do both. And so I decided to kind of put a lid on my career as a diesel shop owner. And my wife and I started talking about the next steps. And she was like, I think we should start a generator company, and I think you can lead it. And so my wife and I just joint ventured on, my wife's also an entrepreneur. My wife and I joint ventured on Gengatorz, and she owns it and I operate it. And we got a pretty good thing going.
Good. And so your company, is it pretty much exclusively in the generator world, and you have different brands that you sell or install? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Right now, about 99% of our business is residential generator install, sales, and service. Our flagship products per se would be Kohler and Briggs & Stratton. We service the Generac brand, which is a lot of people in the service business and even residential know that brand. So here's the crazy thing about a generator. A generator has to perform its very best when conditions are at their absolute worst. And so I've seen these things perform in terrible conditions, and certain brands I just felt were head and shoulders above the others. And so those are the brands we chose to pursue relationships with.
Right. And Kohler, you're very, very strong in. So you're quite happy with that brand, I assume.
Yes. I mean, the Kohler product, they all have pieces and parts of them that are made in America, but Kohler and Briggs & Stratton are 100% made in the U.S.
Nice.
And the design on Kohler's product being all aluminum exterior from foundation, all of the housing and skins in an area like the Gulf of America now, the coast of America, we get a lot of salt air and things rust, and Kohler kind of withstands the test of time here.
Oh, that's very smart. That's very smart. And have you seen, I'm in Florida, I'm in Central Florida near Tampa, and I'll see quite a bit of these generators going in all over my neighborhood and other places. Has it been like on a very strong rise in terms of people's interest in getting these into their homes and businesses?
Oh yeah, I mean, the industry is pretty hot. It's still on a national level. It's still a very low market penetration, unlike air conditioning, which is, 99% of homes have central air and heat. It's less than 10% for generators on a national level. But the rise or the growth rate of our industry over the last 3 or 4 years has been absolutely on a tear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of struggles with operating as exclusively a generator shop, and so our dealership. And so what you'll see a lot of times is heating, ventilation, air conditioning companies that also do generators, and then a lot of electrical contractors who also do generators. But you got to have some expertise in the mechanical side of things to really call yourself a true generator dealership.
Right. So you're not only can install, you can repair and kind of debug things if they're not working quite right, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I had to flip my business model on its head. I'm not an electrician or a plumber. And so I joke about it with my technicians, but you don't want me installing your generator.
That's right.
I had to bring in license holders. I brought in a licensed master electrician, licensed master plumber, and then built the business around those guys. And still, even to this day, we had a operations meeting this morning, and it was a sales meeting, and a couple of our sales guys were talking about a specific job, and I was kind of letting my sales manager run the meeting, and something came up, and they said, well, how would we handle situation X? And my immediate response was, well, I'm going to leave that up to our license holders, because you got to respect tradesmen and women in our industry that took the time, put all of the expertise in to obtain a status of licensed master electrician. And so we'll never do anything to jeopardize those guys in this situation, those guys' licenses, because it not only will it violate our business code of ethics, it's a human thing. You got to respect the license holder.
Absolutely. And, I think too, when you have, you're being an entrepreneur, you're running a business, but man, if you can always so easily jump down into the trench and do that work, kind of makes it makes it a little easier for you to be the solution to a problem, to have the master electricians on the team, on the payroll to handle these types of things, even if you were an electrician. Just having them there keeps you from having to do their job, and you can stay kind of on top of your business instead of down deep into it.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed for sure, and this is probably a reason why I have so much passion for the trades, is I by trade was a diesel mechanic. And so I always knew something was a little different about the way that I operated and the way that I thought when I was around an arena of diesel mechanics. And I'm an extrovert. Like I'll talk to anybody, never met a stranger.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of really good tradesmen over the years. I didn't compartmentalize that when I was a diesel mechanic, but now that I've been around multiple segments of the trades, a lot of really good tradesmen are introverted.
Oh.
And so they are really great at what they do, but not really great at telling people. They like their work to speak for themselves, which is why you have a ton of tradesmen in the industry that are licensed and certified and well to do in their craftsmanship, but running and operating and leading a business is not synonymous with being a good tradesman. And so I felt like I could put a message out on behalf of the men and women who are in my business that make the work happen. And that's what we built the business around. So I want to support and edify the tradespeople.
Brilliant. I see, in the last few years, right? Maybe it's been, I don't know, maybe since some technology, even this AI technology and everything else, man, there are some jobs that you are never going to wipe away, right? And it's going to be the guys that can roll up their sleeves and figure some things out. Like in my own home, not too long ago, my son decided he wanted to change all the light switches in his bathroom and do a bunch of things. And well, when he was done, there was one that wouldn't work and I couldn't fix it. So I call an electrician guy comes out, $250 later, 4 minutes, he's got it fixed. And you go, but you know what? It was what it is. It costs what it costs, but I didn't know how and I couldn't figure it out. And it's embarrassing, but that's the way it is. But there's so many people in the trades that are just an incredibly competent individuals that you can put something in front of them and they can make things happen. But having a voice, you're absolutely right. I've seen many guys that are capable, but they need that voice, that leader, that one that kind of sets the stage. And that is what you've brought to the table. Now, your business, you've been open with this activity just after COVID, right? Shortly after.
Realistically, we didn't go all in on the generator space until like the end of 23.
Oh, wow.
We dabbled to help our community as a diesel engine shop get back going. I mean, our area was 48 days no power. Now, that wasn't in its entirety, but there were places up to 48 days.
The 48 days.
And so when you study an industry for 48 days, in the area where the industry should perform its very best, and you realize that performance of other companies is at its very low, at its lowest point, our opportunity to help people was available, and I just felt God called me to something different. And I helped a lot of oil and gas companies over the years that never returned the favor per se, but there's nothing like walking into someone's home, providing an honest and comprehensive solution, and being paid an honest wage to do so in a positive light. I had been jaded by B2B entrepreneurship for about 17 years. And once I got to help people, I realized I'm going all in on this.
Very good. I think personally you're as valuable as you can help other people. And sometimes, you help entities and you hope that those entities help other people, right? But boy, when you get to kind of get close to your customer, really what they need and want, I mean, I could see things where, what if they're on some kind of medical device and they've got to have energy and they've got to have electricity and they can't afford to have something go down? You could be making massive differences in people's lives. How do you actually get your business? How do you actually promote to get people to look you up?
So I thought diesel mechanics was my trade, but I'm a guerrilla marketer by trade. I mean, I truly, by the sweat of my brow and the blood running through my veins, I'm a marketer. I didn't know that about myself. Quite honestly, I read a book in 2022 called Rocket Fuel, which is Gino Wickman, the guy who wrote Traction. Everybody knows Traction. But I always recommend that people read Rocket Fuel prior to Traction. And Rocket Fuel was an identity. It solved an identity crisis I had in my personal life as far as entrepreneurship. I didn't know there was a difference between visionary and integrator. I didn't understand that. And so very early on in the book, it states something along the lines of, are you tired of dropping off great ideas to great people who are improperly trained and don't see the vision, and those ideas never come to fruition before you have another great idea? And I'm like, oh my God, that's me. And so I realized in the home service business, that's what made it fun to me, was marketing. So our marketing is based on our brand story. So a wise entrepreneur once told me you should have your brand story prepared at any given time for 60 seconds, 60 minutes, or 6 hours. Whatever amount of time you have to tell your brand story, you should learn it, and you should let your people learn it, and you should make everybody well known of your brand story. And so you don't have to get so creative. Get the same story to a wider audience.
That's right.
And so we began using every platform possible. I would say I looked at our sales numbers. About 38% of our closed leads came from Meta, from Facebook, social media. Our next best referral source was WordPress, just our website, SEO, and our website. But then we have very, very strategic, hyper-targeted direct mail campaigns that go out. We don't run billboards. We do a lot of yard signs. And referrals. So the goal here is what I've explained to my staff is our marketing budget, I like to keep it below 5% of revenue. And as we scale, I'd like to dial that back from 5% because our customer acquisition costs and cost per lead should decrease when we become really proficient at what we do. So the better work we do and the more people we do it for should lead to more and more referrals, which are, free leads. And so I can say that in July, we were at 4.18%.
Okay.
With our highest closing rate, our highest average ticket, our highest booking rate, and our lowest cost per lead, lowest customer acquisition cost. So the machine is working, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and very good. And, and over time doing this and delivering a great product, PR really plants the seed and, getting the not only what you do, but the impact that it makes on others broadly known. And that's the message. That is a part of the message. Like, the PR would be the art of making your good works well known and how you make that known in your community through the various direct mail ad sources, signs out front, whatever that might be. I'm from Cincinnati. That's where I grew up. And I used to kind of use an example in some workshops and things that I would do about PR, and then you have marketing. And so like there's a company I won't name the name in case anyone's from Cincinnati, but there's a 3-letter company that makes burgers. And they're the greasy, fattiest burger. And just like every one you buy in a freezer case, they're all kind of not great burgers. And they fry up, like disappear when you throw them on the grill. But this one company, it's out there. It's in every time there's a walk run event or some, march for something or whatever, this company is always there serving up bratwursts and hamburgers. And so in the sea of everything being the same, they actually do incredibly well. And so if someone was looking and I need to put in a generator, what kind of generator I want to put in, and let's say, many people think everything's vanilla, right? Oh, this one or that one or this one or that one. Having a good brand story, creating an impact, making your good works well known just moves you that much further up. So that ability to get that message out and that ability to put the word out in so many channels and being a bit of a unicorn where most people in the trades aren't strong in this area. How do you feel that you're ranking in comparison to other companies in your area doing similar things?
Tough question to answer. I don't mind doing it. I would say making an impact is actually one of our 4 core values as a company. And so I'm calling it guerrilla marketing, PR, whatever you want. I feel like in order to, when you move into a new market, you should take every single opportunity you can to spend time with people that you normally wouldn't. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Just yesterday, we did it yesterday, but about 2 weeks ago, our local authority having jurisdiction, local government, was having a staff meeting, which is about about 50 people. And they do it at a local library because it's parish. With Louisiana, we have parishes, not counties. Yes. So they were having a meeting there. And I got a call from someone in the office and said, hey, we normally, ask if anybody wants to get catering. Would your company like to sponsor our luncheon? And I'm like, well, how many people? They said 50 people. I was like, done. I didn't get a price on catering. I didn't even know if it was in our budget, but I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity.
That's right.
And so my daughter goes out to market she works in the business for catering prices, and she comes out and she's like, I'm blown away by the prices of catering. Like, this is crazy. And she's like, we don't have this money in our marketing budget for the month. Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, we're going to cook the meal. And so everybody in my staff is like, not antagonistic, but they're like, we're not going to sell a single generator. I'm like, I know that.
That's right.
But I'm going to get FaceTime with people in our government who matter. And there's goodwill associated in every marketing and every industry to get your name out there. And so we're going to go do some goodwill. So we stayed up Wednesday night till my daughter and I, both my daughters, and cooked a meal for 50 people because everybody in Louisiana can cook.
That's right. Everyone knows that.
We cooked for 50 people, and it was amazing. And we didn't sell a single product on behalf of it, but it fostered goodwill.
Oh, yeah.
And so to say how we're ranking in terms of sales performance, I can say this. In terms of community impact, I would say very close to the top. I would also say that the statistics tell me that only 1% of generator companies, truthfully, well, let me say 4 to 5% get past $1 million in annual sales, which solidifies my belief that most good technicians are chucking a truck. And I don't say that on a negative way. I think those guys are amazing.
There.
And we've 5X'd that number in the first year of doing business. And it was because we set out a mission. I brought in no one in our company of 30 people has ever been in the generator business before working here. No one.
Wow. That's impressive.
And so, again, studying the industry in a 48-day microscope, drinking from a fire hose at the same time. One of my favorite influencers, Patrick Bet-David, always talks about being a 5-tool player. One of his 5 tools to success is successful people have to be able to process information at a rapid rate of speed. And so that's how this company was built. I realized what the KPIs in the industry needed to be successful. And I casted a vision. I hired the right people. My wife and I appointed good people to do the things that we're not so great at.
That's right.
And we built a great organizational chart. We built a great sales process. We built a great client fulfillment model. And that's why we're successful. It has literally nothing to do with me personally. It's just been a great team effort, a great vision, and an execution on the vision.
Yeah, but I would argue that it did have quite a bit to do with you and your wife because you had the vision to create it in this way. And, you surround yourself with good people who share a similar mission. Success is almost guaranteed, right? But the level of success is how well we steer the ship overall. So you've done a very handsome job of that. Now, with your business and your guerrilla marketing and getting the word out and that type of thing, when someone is to call, I imagine you get a lot of tire kickers who are, how does this work and how much is it and all of those types of things. How are your leads kind of addressed? Is there someone who actually schedules a visit with the people who are interested?
Yeah, so great question. I'd love to share a little bit about our process because I think that's what makes us unique. And you know what? If every generator company in the business adopts a great process, I'm not offended by that. Like, I love R&D, rob and duplicate. Whatever works for someone else, success leaves clues. So why not try it? And so I built our process kind of off of the HVAC industry and then added in the little nuances I thought would serve our avatar buyer well. And so it doesn't, we're as digital as I feel like, don't get me wrong, there's always room for improvement. Obviously, AI is going to add some junctures to our industry that's going to change the game. And it already is. But we run a CRM called Go High Level. It's basically our sales funnel. And we run a FSM, Field Service Management software called House Call Pro. They are tied together through Zapier and different APIs, but our process is unique. Every area of advertisement has a different call tracking phone number on it, depending on how we add. or a QR code so we can track our ROAS, which is return on ad spend, exactly where we market. So the phone rings. We built an amazing sales script. We have a team of SDRs with sales development reps. Those girls are trained to qualify the buyer, try to get their budget out of them without specifically asking what's your budget, try to qualify the pain point, qualify, who's the decision makers in the home. And we use an NEPQ style of communication. That's neuro-emotional persuasive questioning. And so our girls are amazing. Like, I get compliments on our SDRs all the time. And so I've encouraged them, you can't see anybody on the phone, but the client should visualize you smiling the entire time.
Right.
That's how you should communicate.
That's right.
And so those girls get ranked and paid upon their booking rate. When the lead comes in, we want to book that call. And what we do, here's where I believe our magic is we don't quote over the phone. We do in-home consultations.
Yes.
My sales reps are power pros, or I got a few different names for them, but these guys, my training to them has been, if you've ever been to Disney World, it's not a coincidence that you're on a 30 to 45 minute line that is decorated and sounds and smells and things going on to take your attention away from the waiting, to go on a 30-second thrill ride,
right,
only to be dumped off with an exhilarating dopamine rush into a gift shop.
Right.
Before you wander back out into the park, which now leads you to a restaurant, which then leads you to the next ride. That's all by design.
Sure it is.
And so why don't we create our buying experience like an immersive thrill ride? So our installation is only going to last 6 hours. So our install guys will spend the minimum amount of time with the client through the lifetime value of that relationship.
Right.
So our technicians and installers, they're the roller coaster. They're the thrill ride. The in-home consultants, they're the precursor to the 15 seconds of fame and the gift shop and the tour guide. And so we have created we have an inflatable to scale generator. Our book that we pitch at the kitchen table is extremely immersive and informative. Good. We are going to size your home for its needs, not sell you on a particular product. We're going to structure the pricing that is lucrative, informative. And if those books I get made, a lot of companies leave with their pitch book. We leave the pitch book at your house. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you choose not to go with me, then you use that book, that's a free gift, to hold your contractor of choice accountable, because that book is very objective. It is going to tell you the right way to get a generator installed, the right way to get it sized. I was always been taught that if you're going to run a sales gimmick, you have to give real value. Everything can't be salesy. And so that book is legitimately a guide to doing it correctly. Sure, my branding is all in it.
Sure.
But if you don't use me, use the verbiage to hold your contractor of choice accountable, and that value is typically immeasurable. And so then after the sale, we try to close at the kitchen table.
Sure.
And if not, our CRM has a ton of workflows and a ton of automations that reach out via SMS, email, informative email messaging. Our company newsletter is going to go out. And so we have a long-standing rehash campaign that we do not put clients to bed very easily. And we close now on touch point number 6 to 12, more than we ever have, because buyers in a rough economy are apprehensive and want to get other quotes. And it's not always the first guy who shows up that sells. It's the guy who refuses to walk away and drop the ball. And so that's kind of a little bit about our sales process, if you will.
Very smart. Go High Level is a monster successful CRM. If I'm actually on their website, just so you know, like Sean Clark, who's one of the founders, he hooked up my Google domains into Go High Level like 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Wild. That doesn't mean I'm the biggest, baddest genius with Go High Level, but that's my claim to fame with Go High Level. It's great because it does take a few touch points, right? It's like someone's going to even look at solar or whatever it might be, and it's like, I don't know, maybe, and then you think they may have went with somebody else, but you find out they actually didn't go with anybody. They just pushed it off one more year. And the guy that stays with it, the guy that keeps nurturing, the guy that keeps providing value, they'll come back. Well, if they don't then, right?
Yeah, having a buffalo mentality, we talk about that a lot, is a bison puts their head down and goes into the storm. And so what are the major objections when closing? It's okay if the country's going through. Look, I believe, quite honestly, if you could build a business that's successful over the last 3 or 4 years, what can you do when the economy's in a good position? Because the news talks about it being good right now, but that has not trickled down to every consumer yet. And so it's a tough buyer's market. I believe if interest rates come down and the economy starts to flourish, 2026, 7, 8 could be amazing for the home service business. I know private equity market is talking about multiples increasing because the demand on the industry is there. So what can we do when the buyer's market is a little more firm? It's kind of soft right now. So we found the pain points is, we didn't offer financing at first. Well, now we have several different financing options. And, I'm not a financier, but if you're going to finance something, a generator probably checks the box of what would be a smart investment to finance. If you want a new golf cart or a Polaris Ranger, I'd like to think you probably ought to buy that in cash. But if you want a home generator for the correct reasons, financing has been a really great tool for us.
Yeah, it just takes I can handle that out of cash flow in my life and let's make it happen, or I can possibly roll the dice and wish I didn't and have something happen. So I could see the value of being able to finance and put those things together. And do you find like half of the people that you work with go straight out with it, or what percentage use financing?
I would say it's probably 60-40, 60% pay in cash, like write a deposit check and pay the rest upon completion. But that has nothing to do with us as a company. It's demographic. And so as one thing I would say about Go High Level that allowed us to do, or any CRM, is you can go back and study your wins. And so going back and studying our successes, we found that our average age buyer is 55 to 58 years old. Our average household income for buyers, $150,000 on up. The average square footage of homes are 2,000 plus. We have a 98% success rate if the homeowner lives on a corner lot.
Really?
We have an 85% success rate if they have 2 dogs in the home. We're in the 80s if they own a boat. So you could use, after we sell and prove that this customer's a buyer, we'll find ways to ask them the questions and get all of that personal information so that we could use AI to tell me where should I market if I want buyers between the age of 50 and 55 years old who make $150,000 a year and have a 7+ credit score and have a $800,000 plus net worth, live in a 2,000 plus square foot home. Like now my marketing is dialed. And so those clients don't finance as much as, so our financing, I would say it's close to 50-50, but because of our buyer avatar, it's probably a little more cash pay. But I know a lot of other demographics in the generator space do 70-80% financing.
Right. That's very smart. You've got it so dialed in that you know exactly who your avatar, where the, I don't know, juice was worth the squeeze or whatever we want to call that, right? To identify a would-be buyer in that world, right? Spending time in the world of private equity, I mean, there's definitely some things that I believe that you're doing. I was a VP of operation for a roll-up in physical therapy space. So I ran 187 locations. And one of the things I would say that you're doing so smartly is you're building that base, that foundation. You're putting good people and you're letting them run. But in terms of value, that really brings a lot of value to your organization. I'm not saying that you're ready to put it on the selling block or whatever it is, but you really are creating value, not just the value of the bottom line value or profitability or growth trends or whatever. That you can sometimes get another turn of that EBITDA when you have the top of the organization not mired down into operations too heavily. And it sounds like from the start, you've actually put that kind of mindset into your business. And you definitely have done some homework from just this conversation of things that you studied and learned and applied into your business successfully. Now, if we look at like what advice you'd want to give to other businesses, other entrepreneurs, guys who are like, should I or shouldn't I, or they're already in it and they're grinding just a little bit, what would be your go-to advice you might want to share?
Number one would be think with the end in mind. What do you want? What is a successful, every company is going to come to an end. What does it look like? Do you have young children? Is that you, even though as parents, it could be our heart that our kids would take over the business, maybe it's not theirs.
That's right.
And so my kids were raised in a dual entrepreneur household. Why would my wife and I be surprised if they want to start their own businesses as well outside of our scope?
That's right.
It doesn't maybe taking over the family business doesn't fit the mold for them. And so thinking with the end in mind I believe that plan your exit. I would say if you believe that an exit strategy for your business is private equity or family equity, did you structure the business from day one that's going to bear the most fruit for you? Doesn't always mean monetary value. Because you brought up private equity. I've had a lot of conversations with private equity. I've actually told my staff, this is the way I am going to exit the business. Because I've been a mom and pop operator for my whole career.
Right.
Private equity will give you a Harvard education in scaling and operating a business that you cannot pay for in your mid-40s.
That's right.
And so if I build significant impact with very little resources, which is what we've done here, what kind of impact can we make with a lot of resources?
That's right.
And so I would love to have a small piece of a really huge pie than the whole pie, a whole little bitty one. So thinking with the end in mind is plan your exit. Figure out what the business is going to look like, because the worst thing you could do for the folks around you is run the business till the wheels fall off on you physically, mentally, emotionally. Two, on the flip side of that would be jump from the plane and build the parachute on the way down.
Yeah.
What is that term? Procrastination, people who overanalyze things before I'm drawing a blank, but
oh gosh. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. If you procrastinate on taking a leap, you just live with that pit in your stomach and in your soul for the rest of your life. But there are very few people in the arena. So you'll never know what it feels like to get out of the cheap seats and get into the arena unless you jump. And when you're an entrepreneur, as you grow, you'll have an opportunity to be more wise and say no to things. But in the early stage, you got to say yes to a lot of things to get in the arena. And then third would be, self-awareness is crucial in entrepreneurship. You have to know what you're terrible at and be okay with screaming it from the rooftops. Because if you let the world know what you struggle with or what you suck at, you will attract people who are good at those things.
Right.
Because you will be really good at what they're not, and that law of attraction. So I'm not an integrator. I'm attracting integrators into my business and then moving them around to put them in the right seats for us to grow and scale. And so I'm not a financier. So my very first main hire was a fractional CFO, a general manager, and then building an organizational chart, not for the company you are, for the company that you want to be. And if you do those three things, the stuff that you're worried about will work itself out. So plan with the end in mind, jump, go, what are you waiting on?
Right.
And then three, be self-aware enough to surround yourself with the people who are really good at what you're not, and be okay with relinquishing some control.
Super smart, Travis. So Travis Terrebonne from Gengatorz Power Systems, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Now, how would someone find you? So that sometimes people just scroll in. How do I find this guy? So how would we find your company and what you have to offer?
So a few different ways. Every social media platform. There's no company in the world named like this company. It's I like to say it's if the word generator and alligator had a baby, they would make a Gengator.
Yeah. With a Z
so
at
it's
the end.
with a Z at the end.
That's right.
That was a little pizzazz we decided to add, but it's Gengatorz.com, Gengatorz.com, Gengatorz Power System on all social media platforms. And I do also dabble in podcasting. So we have a podcast called Prime Mover Podcast. The heart and soul of a generator is the engine, which is also considered the prime mover. Mm-hmm. And I think the person who gets every business rolling is also the prime mover. And so that we have a little podcast, and shoot, I'd love to even have you on as a guest on my podcast just to talk about entrepreneurship and leadership in general, and some of the principles that I just shared is the premise of that. So Gengatorz on all social media platforms. My personal stuff is Travis Terrebonne. Look me up.
You got it. All right, Travis, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and maybe we'll be crossing paths again on maybe one of yours.
Absolutely. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.